Hey everybody, Zori from OneScales. In today's video, I want to cover Cloudflare. It's one of my favorite platforms that I use for a lot of cases for managing websites, securing websites, managing their DNS and CDN and things like that. I wanted to show you everything I know about it, show you the backends, explain why I like it, what it is, give you some cool insights, and help you make a decision if you want to use Cloudflare or not. So what is Cloudflare? First of all, most people know Cloudflare as the CDN and a DNS manager. So CDN is a content delivery network which allows your website to serve its content, things like images and scripts and things like that, from the around the world, from places that are closer to the user that is browsing your website. So you can increase the speed of the delivery, make your servers work less, make it faster, and you can also have all these speed optimization and security things. So you have firewalls, you can compress the images, you can make your website more secure, like issue SSL certificate, a lot of things. So speed, security, and manage your DNS, right? Manage your DNS. DNS is where you manage the routing of which servers host your website and which email servers provide email services for you, things like that. So what they do is they sit in between your website and the users, right? They sit in between. So when someone asks for what's the server for your domain, for example, onescales.com, it'll go through Cloudflare and say, I know it, I know the DNS records, here it is, and it's going to check for security and for speed, and it's going to give the address of the server and then give the content, for example, the images, and speed them up and things like that. It's a real traditional CDN and DNS, but that's traditionally what Cloudflare is known. Now they have all this infrastructure for security. They have CAPTCHAs, they have image compression, they have advanced firewalls, they have a video serving, excuse me. There's so many features. I'm going to go over them one by one, explain. Mostly, we're going to spend most of the time on the CDN part, speeding up the website, securing up the website, and the DNS and things like domain registration. And all the other ones, we'll kind of briefly go over them from the things that I know. And let's jump into it, okay? So I have an account with Cloudflare. Obviously, you can host more than one domain. You have to there's free plans and there's paid ones, and you can have different. You can check a little bit later about the pricing. But very simply put, I have a list of all these domains that I use under Cloudflare. And when you click on them, I'm going to actually get back to this a little bit later. These are all the account settings, but I'm going to get back a little bit later. I want to show you, once you already have a domain, what things can you do. So I'm going to click on onescales.com, and on the left-hand side, I have all these things. We're going to go one by one and explain these things. And as always, if you have any questions or you want to go deeper into something, just ask in the comments. Social media will answer as best as we can. So first of all, you just have a dashboard. You can see the number of visitors, the requests. Requests are how many times Cloudflare had to deal with a DNS request or a server request or something like that. Okay, so you have some basic information right here. The next one is analytics and logs. You can actually see, if you plugged it in, data about your visitors. How many people use DNS? How many people request the website or request DNS information or the website. You can actually see that stuff. Now, OneScales in particular, I only connected it to DNS, but I'll share all the things for website in general. They're really, really beautiful things. I couldn't share another website's detail because of privacy information, but I'll share with you everything right here. So you have all these analytics. So for security, you can see threats. It gives you recommendations, right? It doesn't just serve content. It actually checks the security of them, the bandwidth, gives you reports, gives you even recommendation, things like that. So here's DNS reports. You can see all these data, how people are using, see if you have any issues with them, okay? And workers we'll talk about a little bit later. So the first thing is, if you connected it to Cloudflare, you actually are going to manage your DNS records. This is the routing of which servers are going to handle your emails, your website, and things like that. So you can see here, it's a simple DNS management. It's really good. Now, if you manage a website for these A records and C name records, you're going to actually put which servers or which IPs are the servers of your website. For example, we use Shopify, but if you actually take certain domains and you actually have them not just DNS only, you actually proxy them, that means, for example, tools.onescales.com, that means that you can actually manage all these other things. If you go through them, the traffic is going through them, you can actually do firewalls and security and speed optimization. All these things we'll do right here. only if you add a proxy, which means you're not just using Cloudflare for DNS of saying where's the routing going to, but you're actually making Cloudflare servers sit between your servers and the customer servers, and then they can do all these extra things like security, which we'll jump into it. Okay, great. Next one is email. So if you can actually have email routing, you can actually have the emails being sent through Cloudflare, and you can do a lot of security. I have not used that for them, but they have some interesting things. One thing that I do use it for is to actually use the DNS records for DMARC management. DMARC is one of the most important things for 2024 to improve your email deliverability and manage spam and things like that. So you can specify these policies, which will link the videos which we made about DMARC, and in order to reduce your spam, reduce your domain sending spam or getting phishing emails, things like that. Okay. Next one. This is the SSL certificate settings. So SSL certificate is when you go to your website, if you have an HTTPS, which 99% of the websites will have that. They actually give you SSL certificate for free through Cloudflare. They have all these settings. So these are a little technical, but most of the time you're going to be between flexible and full, which is how you actually create the SSL certificate between you and the server, right? So if you remember before, we talked about Cloudflare is sitting in between your servers, for example, your web server, the one that hosts your website, and the customer that's browsing, and they're actually securing things. So you can, you're going to make the SSL certificate, but you can decide how secure it's going to be. So for example, if you look here, the flexible is only securing between Cloudflare and the browser. Full is securing between you, your website server, Cloudflare and the browser. And then full strict is a little bit more, right? So you have all these settings you can do right here. And you have all these recommendations. So it'll recommend the SSL certificate recommender. Here you can have all these things about how to set up your SSL certificate. For example, you can actually not just use the free one. You can actually use your own if you have custom requirements. You can upload them. You can do a lot of different things. Next thing is security. Here's where you can see all your security events in one place. This is starting from the firewall. The firewall has managed rules which you can actually pay. You can have specific rules. You can have custom rules which you can set yourself. For example, we blocked AI scrapers, for example, ChatGPT and Gemini, things like that. If they come to our tools.oneskills.com, they'll be blocked. You can set up things, for example, block certain IPs for your admin logins. You can do all kinds of things through your firewall. This is a really nice thing. It's very simple. We've actually covered some of these firewall and Cloudflare things before. I'll link everything as well. You can block certain countries, block certain URLs, block certain IPs, a lot of different things. And you can have and or rules, very complex rules as well. Okay, Page Shield. This helps people. It'll monitor your website and helps reduce the number of hacks through JavaScript dependencies, which means if you have code, you actually have code that references other websites, it'll actually monitor to see if this code has actually been hacked and try to reduce that thing. So there's a lot of security things in Cloudflare. Bots, these are bots. You can actually reduce the amount of bots that try to scrape your data, slow down your website, steal your information. And a lot of these features you can just turn on or off. It's really, really simple. It's a great thing. And DDoS, if someone's really trying to attack you and send so much data to your website, you can actually monitor that and actually stop that and block them on many different levels. Okay, next one. So access. Okay, this is being deprecated, but later we're going to go back into the main account, and there's zero trust policies to secure your enterprise, your actual company. There's all these security measures for your employees in your company. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Next one, speed. This is one of my favorite things about it. So it's a traditional CDN, which means there's a lot of servers around the world, and they'll serve your content, for example, your images, from closer to where the customer is browsing from, right? You can't have servers around the world or else your cost is going to be very high. So you pay Cloudflare $20 a month, $200 a month, or use the free one. And they can speed up your website, and they can also do other things. For example, they can compress your images. They can make your images smaller if you pay for the $20 a month one. They can optimize the fonts, optimize the JavaScript, minify the CSS and JavaScript. There's a lot of things you can do right here. Okay, you can optimize the protocol. This is a server level. Use HTTP 3, for example, to make the website faster. Things like that. So if you have specific technical requirements, you can actually do those. The next thing is caching. This is also another favorite of mine. You can specify how let's go right here. You can specify how a Cloudflare keeps a record of your images and your JavaScript and your CSS, and how often it actually requests from your server information. So you can reduce the amount of time and the resources that Cloudflare is asking things from your server, so your server will work less and Cloudflare works more. You can do a lot of things about the caching, both from the browser side and from Cloudflare side. So you can really optimize the speed of things. So you don't have to have your server work a lot. And once a visitor comes to your website, for example here, and they visit your website and then they come back tomorrow, they don't need to go back to Cloudflare or to the server to download. So their experience is going to be faster because you're telling them, hey, you already have a good version. Just keep it. Don't even ask it again. So you can have all these what we call caching rules to speed up the experience of your website and of your customer. Okay, you have all these rules you can set up. You can set up your own rules. You can specify, okay, these images I can keep them for a month, and these files I can only renew them once a day, for example. Okay. Next one. So rules. You can have a lot of different rules for configuration, for caching, for page rules, for redirect rules. For example, we made a video. If you want to redirect an old page that doesn't exist anymore to a new page, you don't have to do it from the server or from your platform. You can actually do it here. I'll link that as well, all of our Cloudflare videos as well. There's a lot of cool things you can do. Next one, network. These are all settings, a lot of them are for optimization to make the network go faster, make the speed of the website faster. You can do a lot of things, okay? Some of these are just additional data for technical, and some of these for speeding up website or restricting, right? So for example, blocking a website, a customer, if there's an upload form, for example, we can only allow up to a certain size, okay? Great. Next one. Okay, traffic. They have some features. So Argo Smart Routing is a paid extra, which allows you to actually make the traffic between the customer, the visitor, and your servers much faster. And how do they do that? They can choose the routes that go between the internet to send the data in a faster way. Okay, load balancing. If you have a lot of traffic and you have more than one server, you can have a load balancer that when a customer goes to your website, it can choose which servers to go to. It can go sometimes to this server, sometimes to this server, and there's a lot of all these extra things like failover. If one server fails, it'll jump to the other. There's health checks, all these kind of things for load balancing. Okay, health checks is a way for Cloudflare to check if your servers are online. If not, it'll alert you, it'll reroute, do all these kind of things. And the last one is waiting room for traffic. If you expect to have a huge amount of traffic and you know that your servers can only handle a certain amount of traffic, you can actually have a waiting room, which, for example, lets the first 100 customers or visitors come to your website, and all the rest are not even going to your server to not bomb it or not break it, right? And then they'll wait in the waiting room, and when other visitors leave, then these people will automatically be redirected to your site. Things like if you've bought tickets online, like Ticketmaster, all these things, they always have waiting rooms because in a very short amount of time, there's a ton of people that come to your website. Okay, so that's a great thing. Cloudflare really has a lot of features, not just making the website faster and serving it. It has all these cool features that websites need. It's really great. Okay, custom pages. If your website is down or you don't want to actually use the website, in some cases, you can actually specify if there's an issue, I want you to serve this HTML that's uploaded in Cloudflare. So even if your server is down, you can actually show a website. So you can have these kind of fallback URLs or just kind of use Cloudflare to serve your specific pages from there. Okay, apps is already deprecated. It was one of the things. There was an app store that allowed you to do more functionality, but it seemed to not work, and they're deprecating it. Okay, Scrape Shield. If you want to stop bots from actually stealing your content, there's a way for you to actually turn these on and try bots to less steal your emails and also less steal your images, right? If they link your images on different sources, then you're paying for your servers for someone else to enjoy your images. Okay, the next one, Zaraz, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. This is kind of like a replacement for GTM, Google Tag Manager, but it's really a way for you to take your third-party tools, mostly your like JavaScript, things like that, put it on the server side, and actually make your website a little bit more secure and a little bit faster. So it's a way for you to do it, and there's all these built-in things. For example, you can, instead of putting Google Analytics inside your Tag Manager, you don't have the Google Tag Manager, you have Zaraz, and you put Google Analytics through here, things like that. So there's a lot of built-in integrations for it. And the last one is Web3. If you actually are into blockchain, things like that, and you want to have a gateway, you want to have a simple website like oneskills.com, or for example, blockchain.oneskills.com, and you want to access Web3, which is something that doesn't work within traditional domains, you can have a gateway that'll access, for example, the Ethereum network, and things like that. So this is a quick overview of what you can do within one website. If you have any questions, let me know. In particular, I know I kind of briefly went over everything. This is what the tutorial is. But if you have a specific question about the security or the caching or anything very specific about speeding up your website, let me know the specific things. You're not sure, for example, what these things mean, just ask and I'll explain all these details about these things. Lastly, the second part is in the account settings, you have other things you can do. So obviously you can manage multiple domains. You can register new domains. You can register new domains. I really suggest it because Cloudflare is a great company. It's a big company. They have great features. It obviously plugs into all these DNS and other features, and they're one of the cheapest domain registration companies online. I think it's like $9 or so per year. It's a really good thing, better than all these other companies, but do your own research, obviously. You'll have account level, all these analytics. You can see what traffic people are coming from, which countries, how many requests, and all these things. If you're using DNS, it'll give you DNS. If you're using a website, it'll give you website. There's web analytics. So if you actually plug it in, you'll be able to see how users use your pages on your website and the performance and performance issues, things like that, the speed, all that. Security Center is where they'll recommend all these security. They'll provide you reports and recommend to you things you can do for security. It's really a great thing to do. So you can actually see the infrastructure. If you have multiple servers, you can actually see that. And traces for you to be able to see if a request, data that comes from your server to the visitor, how it transfers between the network, and you can actually improve things here. WAF, this is the firewall that's on the account level, not on the specific domain like we showed before, but the account level for all of your domains, all of your traffic. Okay, Turnstile is a alternative for CAPTCHA. CAPTCHA is where you go to a website and it checks to see if you're a bot, and if not, you need to identify a bus or a crosswalk or something like that. It's an alternative, and it's a great one that seems to be more and more popular over time. Okay, next one, Zero Trust. This one I'm not too familiar with, but the simple concept of it is if you have a company, you're in the whole company, and you want to, you're in IT, and you want to secure people's traffic to be able to access your internal system, for example, your ERP or your internal, whatever platforms, you can actually have many ways to do it. The traditional way is to have a VPN, which is another servers that once you connect to those VPNs, then you have access to connect to the company. Zero Trust is another way to do it, which you can actually set all these security parameters and settings and rules to allow your users from inside the network and outside when they're working at home, things like that, without a VPN to actually access all your information. It's a pretty cool thing. I'm not too familiar with it, to be honest, but the concept is really interesting. It's another way for businesses and enterprises to allow others to access their specific applications, websites, systems. Okay, great. Next one. Okay, the next one is Area 1. So this is also I'm not too familiar with, but it's a way for you to actually secure your emails in the company. Okay, next one, workers and pages. In addition to having a server, you actually have to have a server, and then Cloudflare will sit between your server and your customer. You can actually have something called workers and pages, which allows you without a server, what they call serverless, to add your own code, for example, HTML, JavaScript, images, things like that. And you can have Cloudflare's infrastructure serve scripts that do actions and just static files, for example, images, things like that. So you can actually put them here, and it's a really cool thing. The workers in particular do all these cool JavaScripts. You can set it up. You don't have to have servers, and they're obviously served around the world with all the Cloudflare CDN, all the Cloudflare networks, can really quickly serve your content and your scripts. And they have a few other things. They have things for workers, how you set up and all these stuff. Okay. Next one is AI. With the workers, which are basically scripts to do stuff, you can actually use AI or these machine learning code to actually do things with the workers without a server. So this is kind of one way for you to get into get into AI with workers without having your own servers and paying a lot of money for all these things. For example, image classification. You can actually identify images with AI by just using code. Next one, R2. This is a way for you to store files in the cloud, basically in the Cloudflare cloud, just like S3, just like Amazon has a place for you to store. You can put a lot of images, a lot of content on it, and it's a slow way to, it's a cheap way to store content in the cloud. Okay. Next one, Stream. I'm not familiar too much with this, but this is a way for you to actually put video online and stream it, become like a YouTube or something like that. You can actually host your images and videos, and they can actually serve them and stream them for you, right? All the technology infrastructure for doing that is very complex. You can just use their system, integrate very, very easily. Okay. Next one is images. You can actually transform them on the fly. If you want to resize them on the fly, make sure that some customers see smaller images, bigger images. You want to cut images, you want to crop them. You can do these with the system very, very easily with Cloudflare images, and you can do them on the per domain. The last one, I'm also not familiar with it, is the WebRTC. So you can actually build within the Cloudflare network without servers. You can actually build all these applications for like online phones or web chats or video chatting. You can build apps on top of these audio and video apps on top of the system itself. Okay. And lastly, it's just managing account. You can actually manage your users, get notifications, and we also made redirects video as well, which we'll link as well on that. So that is a really quick overview of Cloudflare. I really like it. Let's go to one more thing, really talk about the pricing and things like that. So obviously just check yourself, but very simply put, you have a lot of different things. You have the CDNs and you have the network security and the emails and the video serving. The one I mostly talked about is this one, which is application services, which you have the CDN, speeding up the website, the firewalls, DNS, all these, and they just have multiple packages. The free, which actually includes a lot of things. There's millions of websites that use the free version, and we actually use for OneScales and a few others, and the other ones we actually use quite a few for Pro. So really the difference between free and Pro is you actually have a lot of speed optimization, image optimization, and some more kind of rules. You can set up more rules. You can do more things with the stopping bots, things like that. But do your own research. Obviously, I'll link everything in the Cloudflare plans. And that's it. If you have any questions, you want to go as detailed as possible, like a specific second that we said something, you're not sure what I was talking about, you want to go deeper, you have a specific case, let us know. We've used Cloudflare a ton, and we're here to help. So ask in the comments on YouTube, on onescales.com, X, Twitter, LinkedIn, ask us any questions, and hope you enjoyed this video. And Cloudflare, hope you use it. It's a really good one. If you have some alternative and you like it for a different reason, just let us know. We want to learn as well. And if this video, lastly, helped you in any way, all we ask is just to subscribe, like, tell us, say hello, tell us what you like, what you didn't, how we can improve, what did we skip over, talk too fast. We're always trying to improve things here at OneScales, and it's just the beginning. We're going to make more and more content, more things for you guys. Let us know what you want us to create. Let us know what topics, how detailed you want, other platforms, Cloudflare, etc. And that's it. Much, much appreciated. Love you guys. Thank you.